So I checked the manual, and the manual says to run this rack here all the way out until it gets to 2.19 inches. Well, I don't have the special tool for it, so I made one. From there to there is 2.19 inches. So I stuck this gauge right here from the face of the block to where the pump rack comes out. It's exactly 2.19 inches. I figure it's close enough. So then they say take this pump here and move it all the way counterclockwise, which I did. It's all the way counterclockwise, and then lock down the bolt. Seems kind of like a hokey way of doing it, but as you can see, this thing does move back and forth. So it's all the way this way counterclockwise. Lock the nut down. I know I said bolt, it's a nut. Some people don't know the difference between a nut and a bolt. I do. Anyway, lock the nut down, and that should be it. My problem is, this thing is supposed to work free, I think. It moves up, clicks for some reason, don't know why, and this spring, I assume, is supposed to push this back, but it doesn't. It doesn't go back easily on its own. You have to kind of push it in. So I don't know if that's normal, but that's the only thing holding this rack is the pump. And the pump, the body has two pieces. The outer piece here, and then down inside there's an inner piece that has a little rod sticking down, and that moves back and forth, and that's what shuts your fuel on and off, regulates your fuel. And this thing doesn't work very smooth. As you can see, it just, you got to pull it out. It doesn't go in by itself. So I'm just going to work this back and forth and see if I can get it to work a little smoother. But I think that's my problem. These pumps are not turning properly. So we'll keep working that and see what happens. Well, this is what I found so far. On the bottom of this pump is this little arm that goes back and forth, controls the pump. And this was bent all the way down, and so I had to bend it back up again. So it works freely now, so I'm going to stick it back in there and see what happens. But what I did is I took this whole governor assembly apart, and now this thing works back and forth free like it's supposed to. See, and doesn't bind. And that's the rack that grabs this. There's a slot in that rack, and that rack moves this back and forth. So now I'm going to line this, stick my finger down in this hole, find the rack, get it in the right position, and then lower the pump down into that rack, and hopefully it'll get in the right spot. I think when somebody rebuilt this engine, they just shoved that pump in there, and the rack wasn't in the right spot here. See, I'm moving the rack back and forth with my finger stuck. I got my finger in the hole where the pump goes, and I can feel the rack slot, and I can move this rack back and forth like this. So I got to get this in the right spot and then shove that pump in there and then adjust it, lock it down, and hopefully that'll take care of it. Okay, here's my injectors. When I crank it over, you'll see I got good squirts from the pump. Not so much out of that number 2 though. Tighten number 1 down. Pretty much what it does.